Thank you for coming here. And now I want to thank personally to Dr. Sam Osmanagich for opportunity for me to do a lot of measuring here and learn a lot about Tesla ethereal technologies, investigating pyramidal structures. And what I learned for all these years is that here in Bosnia things happening somehow upside down. So I will start my presentation from the end. On this picture is a result of my investigations, maybe 40 years in the domain of theoretical physics and maybe 6-7 years of ancient knowledge. I call this picture all. Why all? Because here you can see everything what exists in any form of existence, whether that is material form or spiritual form. What is more than interesting that all phenomena from spiritual world, whether that are angels or phenomena from material world, proton, electron, sun, etc., are positioned on the same line. That's a line of evolution, but in essence, that's positions based on energy density. So I find a way to describe the objects which belong to the spiritual aspect with parameters which use or conventional science. So if we speak about phenomena like, for example, astral body, soul, Atman, etc., every of that phenomenon I can describe with the same parameters as proton, electron, sun, etc., with the wavelength, with the mass, etc. This is very, very helpful because our science describes the material world very well. Macrospace and microspace is described with our theories very well. But this aspect of spiritual reality belong to, unfortunately, to the area of pseudoscience, but my investigation show that all of that is very, very realistic. These phenomena really exist, and we now can compare these phenomena mutually and get better knowledge about them. What is interesting in this picture, you can see that material and spiritual aspects of our reality meet on the position which I call hyperdimensional equator, and for me is very, very interesting that that position in energy meaning is on the position of 1 hertz. 1 hertz is a rhythm of human heart. So matter and spirit meet on the position which is connected through beating of human heart. Next, what is maybe more than interesting is the position of the human being. Human being is a position on the point which is quantum level 0, and this position is in the golden mean. So the God or creator put the man in this world from a universe to absolute reality in the very, very special position. So we have a very, very important role in this world. Why this model, I named it model energy density quantifying model, allowed us to connect what is described is different cosmogonies. For example, on the left you have Theosophy, and then Upanishadic cosmogony, Christian cosmogony, and they use different worlds to describe phenomenon in different levels of conscience or levels of existence. They name them with other words, but it's absolutely the same what happened in these levels of existence in these worlds. For example, in Theosophy we have planes, first, second, third, etc. In Upanishadic cosmogony we have locus, first locus, second, third, and in Christian cosmogony we have heavens. But never mind, what's happening there in that levels, in that worlds, is absolutely the same. So, but what is advantage of the model? Because all of these levels of existence can be described with physical parameters from modern science. So I can describe them with modern physics using number k, which is quantum level, and described everything. Every phenomena is this the different forms of existence with parameters which are very close to our mind. We understand what is a wavelength, what is a frequency, what is a mass, etc., etc. For example, soul. We don't know what is a soul, human soul. How describe that phenomenon? Original in Upanishadic cosmogony, it's named Jiva, but I can tell you the wavelength, the frequency, the mass of that object, etc., etc. Also, when we meet with our reality, we can describe that only with the phenomenon which our science know, and in the lowest level of existence, most primitive, that's the first world, where we are now, live, our science now for only 4 interactions. That's electromagnetic, that's strong and weak force, and gravitation. And we don't know for other interactions. But in esoteria, there is a lot of phenomena which are described with very special names as prana, jiva, fohat, etc. when we talk about vital principle or energy. If we speak about medium, what we know is only quantum vacuum, which is described of our science, but some subclear form of existence in the second locus, second heaven, etc., etc., is astral level, and there are phenomena which we name prana, etc., etc. I want to say that without knowledge of ancients, we cannot understand the world in which we live well. We can understand only to the quantum level 8, which is a photon. Photon is the last phenomenon which our science can measure, and the photon is a quantum carrier of electromagnetic waves. And that is the last phenomenon in absolute reality which can be described and detected by modern science. But as we can see, we will go back. You can see where is the photon. We have one big world on the other side in the area of spirituality, which really exists but cannot be explained with modern science. I need a lot of time to make differences between these phenomena. And my analysis, which you can find on my site, you can find that, for example, modern translator which translate ancient texts, wherever they find word akasha, they use word ether. But ether and akasha are not the same. That are really different mediums, and they have their carriers. So the forces which can be detected, and I have levels, quantum carrier fluid for K level 8, that is a photon as a quantum carrier, and the fluid or medium is electromagnetic field. But some subtler phenomenon is next level, that's medium there is ether. And the quantum carrier is object which I name K9. More subtler world, that's third loca fluid, there is akasha, and the quantum carrier of that fluid is mula prakriti. That's the only way how you can understand Tesla. Without this knowledge of ancients, you cannot explain really real Tesla. But new Tesla, Tesla after Colorado Springs, and his work from 1900 until his death to 1943. Here you can see that knowledge of the ancients was really great. Here we have a pyramid with angles which are 42 degrees and 51.84. But this is the angles of on which we perceive rainbow, and this is angles with which we can see the distance between red and blue light. How ancients knew that? But they knew that. They knew mass of all particles from nuclear world, proton, electron, neutrino. They knew the mass of that particles. They knew mass of universe, radius of the universe. This is a knowledge maybe 33 years, 1,000 before 43,000 years. And this is one guy which we know, 2008, very young guy who started talking about Bosnian Pyramid, etc., etc., which was very interesting man, and he speak about very interesting things. In September 24, 2010, he spoke about some energy beam which was discovered on the Pyramid of the Sun, made by Mr. Slobodan Mizrak, who discovered some energy beam, and on that position you see Slobodan and Dr. Osmanagich, who measure intensity of that energy beam. Measuring showed that the intensity of that energy beam became stronger and stronger. Its intensity increased with high, which is very unusual, and that beam has diameter of about 4.5 meters, and these are facts which speak that that cannot be ordinary conventional electromagnetics, because the wavelength of the frequency of 28 kilohertz is about 10 kilometers. So the elements of some kind of dipoles or antenna have similar dimensions. So there is no way, I am engineer of telecommunications, to compress some energy of that frequency in such small beam. But this is experimentally verified. And after Dr. Osmanagich said that that was measured there, and that's a problem to explain that from the aspects of conventional science, I said yes, of course. But from the aspects of Tesla technologies, scalar waves, that's something expectable. First word or number which makes some connection between pyramidal structures and Tesla technologies was information that mentioned by Dr. Sam Osmanagich, that the frequency is detected on the pyramid of the sun is 28 kilohertz. For me is very important because that was a frequency which Tesla used in Shoreham in his world radio station, with which he intended to send energy, radiant energy to the world. And the working frequency was exactly 28 kilohertz. But what's I know is fact that Tesla used in his mechanism planet Earth as a resonator, on the same way, absolutely similar to the box of the guitar, which on the base of creating stationary waves intensify mechanical vibrations of the wire. So it is not miracle for me that same frequency was found in the pyramidal structures. But it is more than interesting that mountain earthline height is 1565 meters, and this is a number which is was directly correlated with Tesla's work and his experiments in his laboratory in Colorado Springs and in my laboratory. So that number tell me that this connection between pyramidal structures and that mechanism structure of that phenomenon are very, very close and similar to the Tesla technologies and his machines. These are my first measurements in April 2011 with very low cost equipment, but what I see is that on different positions you can find similar values of frequency. So that means that they are somehow connected. And based on my knowledge from Tesla technologies, etc., and modern physics, I made some model how I think that this machine called Pyramid of the Sun function and its structure and the form of that energy which she emits. And I bring that slide on a second conference. But on the same conference, one of guests was Mr. Klaus Dona, which bring to Dr. Osmanagich one present, and this is this picture. This is structure of inside of the tunnels pyramid, where it can be seen different tunnels on the different levels showed with different colors on the different depths, and all of them have circle form, but not ideal circle, but some ellipsoidal form, and every higher level spin for some degree. And Mr. Klaus Dona said that these kind of tunnels support spiral energy form. And I was a second speaker which meet with him. He is going down and I'm going up to start with my presentation, and I show him my picture, and he show me his, and he said, Mr. Samir, this guy support my idea. And I said, no, Mr. Osmanagich, this guy support my idea because this is a physical proof and that is a theoretical something. But never mind. I think that this is a good argument which support this idea, and we can speak about some torsional form, torsional energy form. Modern science speak about torsional waves and torsional fields. This is a top theme in modern science. So, dealing with artifacts for ancients, we simultaneously dealing with modern physics, in essence. Here you can see dimensions of Vysočica, Pyramid of the Sun, and you get numbers which are very close to the numbers of elements in Tesla famous magnifying transmitter. So, as a telecommunication engineer, we speak about harmonized elements because the length of wire, which is a quarter of the wavelength, emit and absorb maximal of energy. This is my laboratory in Belgrade, which I made and spent a lot of time to do a lot of measurings. I take his diary and try to repeat everything, every measuring and experiment which he done in his laboratories, Colorado Springs. And because he is very controversial scientist, what I find is that he was right anytime. In cases when his opinion wasn't saglasan. Slagajući. Accepted by ordinary science. So I use different instruments for, after finishing measuring of Tesla technologies, different combinations of coils, condensers, spark gaps, etc., etc. I start to do measuring of different pyramidal structures, sacral objects, and so on. Method which I use is magnetotelluric method, scientifically method, and this is the first measurement which I done, 2014. This is a spectrum, energy spectrum in Belgrade, where you can see a lot of harmonic signals from different technical devices. On the top of the Pyramid of the Sun, we can not see nothing except the signal which is generated by a pyramid, about 28 kilohertz. Also, I do measuring on the runtime, and what I find is also same frequency, so that means that runtime and the Pyramid of the Sun are some kind of resonators or receivers for energy of the same frequency, of the same kind. In our discussion about Tesla technologies and modern electromagnetism was much problems because Tesla's ideas are not easy acceptable from the scientists. So Dr. Osmanagich formed a team of a lot of scientists led by Dr. Paolo De Bertolis and Slobodan Mizdrak, and we done one very, very complicated experiment using a lot of instruments, different kinds, but very, very expensive and very, I think, unique on the world. I don't know that anybody do measuring of such type using such equipment. Here you can see sensors, antennas, recorders, special antenna emitting a scalar field which we emit inside the pyramid, and with different detectors, piezo crystals, coils, receive the result of interference of signals which pyramid emit and the signals which we emit into the pyramid. Here you see a lot of electronics devices, oscilloscopes, etc., etc. We have direct internet line with position on the top and the hotel pyramid of the sun, and in the hotel we can watch everything what these sensors measure. Measuring lasts 2 days, 48 hours with 100 measuring in second. Different measuring with cameras, with infra cameras, sound, infrasound, ultrasound, electromagnetic signal, etc., etc. Results were analyzed in Institution for Statistics in Zagreb, Belgrade, and in Vienna. It all give us the same results. It's detected the source of that signal is 2,474 meters below the pyramid, etc., etc. You can see the measuring of the sound which were detected there, etc., etc. Finally, what we find, you can see here, but for me, the main information was observed signal delay of 28.1 minutes. Why? Because I said to Mr. Mizrak before he started his experiment that when they start to measuring, after half an hour approximately, it would happen something, a great change in the form of that signal. I cannot say what, but some change have to be detected. And he tell me that observed delay was 1,686 seconds, which is very important for me because that's mechanism of propagating that energy form. Never mind, we learn a lot on that measuring, and my further investigations of ancient knowledge show me that this world is based on 3 elementary cosmic constants. Number base of the natural logarithm, golden mean, and number pi. Ancients know all of that. And this energy form, which are vortexial, spiral, we can see in a macro world, micro and micro, and you can see DNK, galaxy, etc., etc. How Tesla can be correlated with that? Well, you can see the relations which we find in pyramidal structures and in Tesla's machines. Relations between the element mechanical dimensions are always, you can there is a Wardenclyffe tower, and you can find golden mean, base of natural logarithm, number pi, everything in relations and dimensions of that object. Why? Because transfer of energy in a vortexial form is directly correlated with the longitudinal expansional, compressional vibrations, which is essence in ethereal form as a medium. This is from Tesla diary on December 14. You can find that in his Colorado Springs notes. You can see these numbers. He's measuring. He measured this. After 100 years, I read this in his diary, and you can see that he's measuring of the system with the latest version of extra coil and the resonant frequency of the primary circuit. You have pi relation. Accidentally? I think no. I'm sure no. But using TC tutor, which I get from Corum brothers, they are PhD of physics, and they made some program, but from 1987 in basic, but never mind. It can be used for analyzing Tesla magnifying transmitter, and when I input the data from that day, December 14, what I get? I get the results in relation between resonance frequency of his system, primary, secondary coil system, energy peaks, low and high frequency peak, that they are in relations of golden mean. And that speak about Tesla geniality, because he never mentioned number 5, golden mean, etc., etc. But he has that constants implement in his system. Why? Because he reached maximal efficiency. So automatically everything was what is maximally efficient have to have implement elements in the golden mean. This is an ordinary electromagnetic wave which has oscillations in one electric component in one plane, magnetic component in other, and wave propagate in the direction of the third vector. Scalar waves doesn't exist from the aspect of modern science except in some form of transformation of conventional electromagnetic wave, so that energy vibrations propagate in the direction of electric field and oscillate in the direction of magnetic field, on vice versa. Propagate in the way direction of magnetic field and oscillate in the magnetic wave. What is the problem with understanding Tesla? That is a fact that what we learn in school and what we study about when we say Maxwell theory, what we learn is not original Maxwell theory. Original Maxwell theory is here. It was written and published in 1865 in the form of quaternions. And you have 20 quaternionian formulas, and the difference is that quaternion is a mathematical form which consists from the vector part and scalar part. But when mathematicians from that time analyze that form of Maxwell's original theory, they find that based on the scalar part of quaternions can exist some vibration, ethereal vibration, which can propagate with velocity which can override velocity of the light. So that was very problem for in that time rising theory of relativity, and what they say that this is very complicated, and they simplified that formulas, and what we today learn as a Maxwell theory is only 4 but vectorial equations. That's one-dimensional lower than quaternion form. So we lost power of original theory to describe world which is of extremely importance for our lives, because quaternions are ideal mathematical form to describe torsional energy forms. But what we learn as Maxwell theory is this, and this is the main problem to understand Tesla, because Tesla worked with scalar waves, with pure potential, not with electromagnetic vibrations of field, electric or magnetic. Scalar field is something what have no direction and intensity as vectorial forms. Scalar phenomena has only intensity, like temperature or pressure, for example. That's a great difference. And here is an animation of longitudinal waves, sound waves, and this vibration, expansional, compressional vibrations, molecules of air, and the same principle, but instead of air, if medium is ether, is the same way as longitudinal scalar wave transfer information or energy. So it's the reason why Tesla said that light is a sound in ether. And this is my laboratory. I do a lot of experiments, different, all these coils made by my hand with the help of my wife, my daughters, etc. And I try to do everything what Tesla done before 100 years, but what I find that every his word is right. In modern physics, here you can see torsion field detectors, but we have to know that torsional field is 10 power 70 times weaker than electromagnetic interaction. 10 power 70 is a number with 70 zeros. And that's a really, really great difference between electromagnetic interaction and torsional field. But you see, yesterday also, that very weak, very, I can set very 70 times, very weak energy form, vortexes impact on our world on every level, from our DNA to the galaxy. And this is our equipment, because we wonder and why this signal rise with altitude, and we want to check that, because 10 years before, on a measuring which were done by Dr. Osmanagich and Mr. Slobodan, they using you standing on some wall, and they can reach only 3 meters above the ground. But we want to see what's happening on the 10 meters or 100 meters above. So we made, I call this flying laboratory. I use PC oscilloscope, tablet with Windows operational system, and we make a flying laboratory which can be lifted by drone from that time and do the measuring. Evelina, molim te film. Now you will see a little movie, short movie about our measuring. Ide. Evo ga. This drone can take only 800 grams, and I succeed to make laboratory of 788 grams, below the limit. Jedva. We do a lot of measuring on the different places, but
sa dronom.
Marko Panček from Croatia.
Visina,
Stjepan.
40 metara.
koliko ćemo biti u vazduhu?
3-4 minuta. Napravit ćemo jedan krug, pa da vidimo šta ćemo izmjeriti.
Hvala.
Može?
Može. Znači prvo ja puštam, onda Gorane ti. Ajde.
Very complicated procedure. So this is very dangerous for drone. You see my equipment. This is measurements on the Pyramid of the Moon, where we will go tomorrow. First, I have to take my laboratory, and after that, this guy, Stepan Matijević, yes.
Ljudi, sve snime,
Evo ga, još radi, čudo.
Bravo, momci.
We are happy because we have a lot of problems, especially on the Pyramid of the Sun.
Jel ovo ima igde još da je neko napravio?
Pa ovo je jedna kombinacija najsavremenije
Yes.
tehnologije, najsofticiranije kombinacije.
Because the motors disturb electromagnetic waves, so we
Instaliran Windows operativni sistem i specijalni program za analizu signala. Mi smo sad koristeći takvu opremu snimili kompletno električno polje, odnosno ceo spektar po itinereru koji će nam gospoda koja su upravljala ovim dronom i koji također imaju sve parametre leta, visine, položaja, koordinata, GPS, konkretno podataka, sve ćemo to ispreplesti, ukrstiti sa vremenom snimanja i vidjeti tačno na kojoj tački prostora imamo kakvo stanje polja energetskog i to će biti jedna vrlo, vrlo interesantna informacija.
here you see trajectory which can be here is equipment, and here are measurements. On the left side are informations from drone: latitude, longitude, altitude, ascent, speed, etc., etc. And on the right side, on the blue color, is informations from my equipment. So for the every position, latitude, longitude, altitude, every point in space, we can connect that with the measured value in that point. So we get a picture of space distribution of energy intensity of VRMS in electrical terminology. You see, the drone give us trajectory all the time, how he fly horizontally and vertically, and in every point measured, we can see the intensity and create the picture of the spatial distributions of energy density, which were measured. This is energetic field is not one. Yes. Yes. This is air field structure on the tumulus where we were today. In the horizontal plane, you can see that energy intensity and form is like the object it will, above we fly. And in a vertical plane, you can see that energy intensity decrease. So the form of field follow the real geometry of the object, and that's normal, and decrease with altitude. But above the pyramid of the sun, we can see the circular form of energy field in horizontal plane, and the pyramid is not circle. And in vertical plane, you can see that energy increase, energy density increase, or intensity of electric field increase, and after that decrease. But of greatest interest is fact that maximal energy density is on the virtual top of the pyramid. That is a virtual point above the point where we stand on the ground. So this speaks us about wave mechanics which function in reality. So we have some kind of ellipsoid, energy ellipsoid with a maximal energy in the center, in the point of virtual top of the pyramid, which decrease up, down, left and right. Only above the pyramid of the sun.
So if you go further up, you may not have gone, but it seems that this is the only increase in this. There's no like wave pattern further up, or is there?
We cannot reach the altitudes more than 50 meters. So that was a problem because this was done, I think, 2016, and drone from that times can lift only maximal T800 grams, and these altitudes were very problematic. But I'm sure that if we go further to the higher altitudes, we will find similar things, and we will try that one day. Anyway, what we measured this time is that we have some energy ball, energy ellipsoidal form with maximal intensity, and that's a scalar field, which you cannot, I'm engineer of telecommunication, you can use wave mechanics, maximally expensive, complicated, and I don't know what to say, but you cannot make such form, energetic form, which has ellipsoidal form with different energy density. This is a real ordinary scalar field made by Pyramid of the Sun. This is our measurements on the mountain Rtan. Dr. Osmanagich control what we are doing, and what we measure there, you can see also very interesting signal, very interesting signal of about 28 kilohertz. So these objects are absolutely in some relation and they communicate. And this is very important picture. What you can see yesterday, and what about was Dr. Osmanagich talk, is a triangle inside a triangle. But one day I do my measurements on the all the objects in the archaeological park. And I want to show the results of measuring, but with the real position where they are positioned in reality. So I use Google Map to find the distances between that points and find these distances between objects, mutually distances. And what I get is numbers which are very alike one to each other, very similar values. But it can be seen that there are three groups of numbers. And I find mean value for that three groups. And because I'm engineer televocation, I remember the Yagi antenna. Why? Because Yagi antenna is apparatus which amplify the energy which it received. But how it's projected? Main element is dipole, which is lambda half dimensions of the frequency which that antenna received. And these elements in the front of dipole are called directors, and every of them is 5% shorter than previous. Elements behind the dipole called reflectors, and they are 5% longer. And I use the knowledge from electromechanics and construct Yagi antenna, which consists of dipole and some elements, and calculate the frequency appropriate and what we have in reality. And you can see very, very similar values between what I calculate if I make a Yagi antenna for 28 kilohertz and what we have on the terrain here in the park. Very, very small differences. So I conclude that all these elements in this valley are positioned on exactly points which make some system absolutely analog to Yagi antenna. So they help one to each other to produce that energy beam which is emitted from the pyramid of the sun. These are measurements which we done these days, and first column is electric field, second is magnetic field, third column on the right is scalar field. First row is measurements on the Belvedere, second is point B12, and the third is Pyramid of the Sun. And you can see that intensity of disturbances became higher and higher from the Belvedere, which is far from Pyramid of the Sun, and some higher intensity and the form in the scalar form. You can see one part of a spectrum which is amplified, and you can see not well, but on the next slide it could be better. You can see some harmonics or signals which we cannot see on the position on Belvedere. They are rise, but not with a great intensity on the B12, and are extremely visible on the Pyramid of the Sun. Here is a little bit better. You can see these harmonics of 23.75 and 27.11 kilohertz, very, very clear. And what was a good surprise is a picture which I get from Mr. Heikki Savolainen, which do his measurements, but in the field of mechanical vibrations. This is sound. And above is measurements, my measurements in electromagnetic domain. What you can see is the presence of exactly the same frequency spectrum and signals in the mechanical form and in electric form. And what does that mean? That means that the story which we can hear from Dr. Osmanagich, that is not that can be expected because of presence of quartz crystal. Because when we disturb quartz crystal mechanically, it produces electromagnetic signal and vice versa. But I don't tell you everything because Mr. Heikki Savolainen tomorrow will show you much more measurements and very, very interesting results which combined with my measurements speak about a structure of pyramidal objects. These are resonators, but resonant chamber for the sound of 24 kilohertz is about few centimeters. Yeah. And Pyramid of the Sun is 100 of meters. But it resonates in the electromagnetic domain. So this is the source, and the electromagnetic signal is first, which produce mechanical waves. But you will see more interesting recordings tomorrow, which will help all of us to understand how these pyramids work, what they do and how they do. This is very sophisticated machines, resonators, and as Dr. Osmanagich said, they are hardware of cosmic internet. Proofs you will see tomorrow. This is one. Thank you very much for your patience. Whether Tesla waves really exist or not, the intention of this presentation is to point that facilities in the archaeological park Visoko, Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids, were not arised as a result of stochastic natural processes, but these are artificial objects created with careful planning of their shape and location, probably built with unknown technology whose purpose we may, however, foresee: preservation of basic cosmic vibration of all local densities, primarily of biological structures. Enjoy in the valley of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Any questions? But everything you can find, a lot of text on my site, or I have blog on the site of a foundation. You can find all of my measurement from these 10 and more years. Any question?
Could that wave that's coming out of the pyramid top be a carrier beam? Could another signal attach to that to come to
Yes,
down on
but
the
as we said, ethereal vibrations travel instantaneously. So communication between pyramid of the sun and the Earth, for example, or center of the Earth and the center of our sun, and our sun with the center of galaxy, etc., etc.
I'm thinking more ionosphere.
There is no time. That is no traveling signal and back. You have no wait for the answer. In the same moment when you ask something, you already have an answer. Maybe before you send your question. That's how our world functions. We have a friend which do experiments in Kozirev mirrors because they have problems in army, in submarines to communicate with, and they use extra senses for communication, which is simultaneous. And in some of experiments, they receive the answers 2 hours before they send questions. That's our reality. Torsional fields are reality. Tesla waves reality. Pyramidal structures and ancient knowledge are really, really great.
Yeah. Most of my science is Vedic.
You see how they calculate velocity of light. They calculate velocity of light 33,000 years before our scientists measure that value, but they don't know why this is exactly that value. And they write velocity of light c is equal 1 divided with phi minus 0.5 phi golden mean, and when you calculate that you get the velocity of light. They calculate gravitational constant. We know that Cavendish used the Bals and the torsional scale, and he gets the value of gravitational constant, but experimentally. And nobody don't know why this value is exactly this. But they calculate that 30,000 years and write that gravitational constant is equal to 1 divided with c squared on golden mean squared on 2. You calculate on 10 decimals, you have value of gravitational constant. You can check that. And that knowledge is from before 30,000, etc., etc.
If I may. So when you go back to that slide with scalar waves together with B field and electric field, what are the units that scalar waves are measured in?
Intensity. Just intensity.
Intensity of energy per area?
No,
per
just voltage.
Okay,
Very
so
much.
if they're not, so it's voltage, right? So if they're not, you said non-Hertzian, right? That's the expression. How are they being measured then? They must have some component in, let's call it the real world, right?
Part of wire. Piece of wire.
Right.
Yes.
But that makes them conventional, though.
That's a shadow of real vibration, which when you see vrtlog listova pod dejstvom vetra, vortex made by wind,
Right.
what you can see is listovi. Leaves. You can see leaves, but you cannot see wind.
Right.
What you can measure and detect is a leaf and his torsional form.
Right.
But you cannot see wind. But real, in essence, this is caused by wind. So you cannot measure directly ether because ether is a subtler form. It's on the second plane. It's not absolutely manifested as electric field.
Would that make, from that perspective, would B field or the magnetic field and electric field be also this manifested phenomena of the scalar
Of
wave
course.
as well?
Of course. What we can measure and detect, and which we use for communication, radio, mobile, is a conventional, but that is a transversal form of vibration. So we call them transversional electromagnetic waves because electric field oscillate in one plane, magnetic field in the second plane, and disturbance propagate in the third plane. But here not. Here we have you have volumetric vibrations, three-dimensional vibrations, expansion and compression, which propagate in one direction, like sound. But medium is not air, is that ether which you cannot see, you cannot measure directly. You have no instant. Yes, I show you. There are 6 models of detectors for torsional field, but you cannot buy it. I cannot use it. I communicate with some special institutes and make some probes, but that's a very, very high technology which they reach and use, and they measure. They measure the torsional fields propagate with a velocity of 10 power 9, a million times faster than velocity of electromagnetic waves. They measure that. They measure that they influence on biostructures, that they influence on gravity, they change the weight of objects, etc., etc. That are real experiments. I watched that. I am in that projects, but I have not the detectors. I saw how they work. My friend, which Dušaninić, which he is extrasense and can see something which can be visualized with polycontrast interference photography, Dr. Harry Oldfield. But his spectrum is much wider and the resolution is better of this our friend, and he can see things which I can, maybe someone can hear, and cannot be measured by ordinary things. And he said for some of my devices that he make a scalar field of about 1 meter, which I cannot see, I cannot measure, but Dr. Ljuba Ristovski has original software of PIP technology, and he make the picture of that. So I can see also, but indirectly. But I bring that device in Russian in one little bit unknown part of their system where they has that instruments, and he used that, and he measured and said 98 centimeters. I remember Dusan, which looked and said about 1 meter without any instrument. So this, I call that part of reality below photon, sub-photon, I said, for that, because that's unreachable to science, but it really exists. You saw the picture. We cannot say that soul doesn't exist because we can catch it, weight. But this is our reality. Ancient knew that and used that technology to make such devices with which they can speak and communicate with opposite side of university immediately. Yes. And influence on reality on that part of our world. So studying ancient knowledge and pyramidal structures can be very, very useful for science of future. So thank you again to Dr. Osmanagich.